What's going on? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Helen, and in today's video, I am speaking to my recent college grads. I know how stressful and daunting life after graduation can feel, and especially if you are a first-gen college grad like I was, I know it feels even more overwhelming to navigate this season of your life because there's no one in your family that has come before you that is going through the mental struggles and things that you're going through right now. So I totally get it. I am now 5 years out of college and I have learned so much, so I just wanted to share some tips, give you some advice, and just overall make you feel more at ease. So if this is your type of video and you're interested in learning more, stick around and we will get started. So first, can I just say congratulations. I am so proud of you for making it this far. You graduated. That is a huge accomplishment. All those late nights, studying, just doing all of the things that you had to do to get yourself to this point is amazing. And I just really want to applaud you for that. So now it's time to get yourself a big boy or big girl job. And I know that can feel a little overwhelming at times, but take some pressure off of yourself. Your first job does not define the rest of your career. Just get some experience under your belt, and if it's not what you're interested in, you can always pivot and move into a different direction. This first job is not going to define the rest of your career. It's simply kind of like getting your feet wet and getting out there and just learning. I mean, that's really what your first job is about. You're not going to be perfect at it. You're going to make mistakes in the beginning, but you're gonna learn so much. And more importantly, you're gonna learn about what are the things that you are interested in and what you're not interested in. My first job out of college was as a recruiter, and it was a really great first job because it taught me some really valuable skills that I have used throughout my career. It really opened my eyes to what different types of jobs were available. The company that I was working for specialized in technical roles for like telecom companies, which are like AT&T and Verizon and things like that. So I was working on finding like software engineers and architects and like all these different types of people for these jobs. And what I really loved about it was that it really opened up my eyes to all the different types of jobs that are available within tech. And like immediately I knew, I was like, okay, like definitely this is where the money is, right, in tech. And not only that, it also opened my eyes up to like the earning potential that certain career paths had, which, I mean, if you're a first gen like me, you're the first one that's like going into a professional setting, you have no idea what these jobs are paying. You just literally have you're going off of nothing. So having this be my first job and seeing how much some people were making, it was just like blowing my mind. I didn't even know that people could make that much money. I also got some really great skills knowing how to structure my resume so that it's more eye-catching to hiring managers. I learned about like negotiating pay and really realizing that there's always more money on the table, and employers really always start off lowballing you, and it's your job to come in and negotiate a higher salary or higher pay. So these were all just very valuable lessons and things that I learned that would then go on to help me throughout my career. If you are kind of like in a place where you're like, I don't know like where to even start, like coming out of college, I definitely do recommend recruiting. It's like a really easy field to get into, especially like with no experience straight out of college. And this brings me to my second piece of advice, and it is to never stop learning. I know you just went to school for 4 years and you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm kind of so glad that I don't have to like worry about schoolwork and all these things. But the truth is that you don't learn everything that there is to learn in college about a particular job. You really do get most of your experience actually on the job, like day in and day out, doing the different tasks and just trying out new things and figuring out what does and doesn't work. Some companies provide really great training. Other companies, and I'd say probably the majority of the time, don't always have like a training program to kind of get you up to speed. I will say that the people that are the most proactive in taking an approach to like learn things and educate themselves usually end up being the ones that are most successful in their jobs. Let's say you end up in a job where you're not really, like, this is not the long-term thing for you. explore other things and figure out what does interest you, and start learning and figuring out like, okay, maybe this isn't for me, but I'm interested in this other thing. Like, what skills can I start to learn to set myself up to find a job that's going to be more aligned with the things that I want to do? Let me give you an example. So like I mentioned, I went into recruiting. I decided it wasn't really for me, even though I did learn a lot and I was grateful for it. I was like, okay, this is not the long-term thing for me. Like, I had gone to college. My major was in business and my concentration was in marketing. And I really did like the creative side and like the marketing and like all this stuff. So I knew ultimately that I wanted to head into that direction. I always found graphic design really appealing. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I just really want to learn how to use like the different Adobe products like InDesign and Photoshop. That would be so cool. Like if I could learn how to use that and then I could use it like in a marketing role. And so I knew that learning those skills would make me a great candidate for a marketing role. During the day, I was focusing on my recruiting job. In the evening sometimes, and it wasn't even every day, I was like watching videos and just like really trying to learn how to use these different platforms, which was a lot of fun. So learning those skills really paid off, because after my recruiting job, I was able to transition into a marketing specialist role. And I had learned the basics, literally just like the basics of InDesign, and I put it on my resume. I really like used that job to my benefit because I was able to learn and to really like apply my skills and just improve my skills on the job there, which is great. And I feel like that's what your career should be. It's not necessarily that you have to have everything figured out when you go into a new role. It's more so that you have an interest in it, and then on the job, you get to try these different things and you're getting paid for it, which I think is really cool. And I think that's the way that you should approach your work, is like, wow, I'm getting to learn on somebody else's dime. Like, this is great. So evolve with the changing times, lean into the things that interest you, and just always be willing to learn. And the third thing that I wanted to share with you is the importance of, and I don't really want to use this word because I know it can be a little triggering, but networking. I remember I was in college and I would like hear my professors talk about networking and things like that, and it just like felt like the cringiest thing. I am an introvert. I feel like I've gotten better now as I've gotten older to like put myself out there, but when I was in college, I was like, oh my gosh, like going to these like professional networking events, like that just seems like such a drag. It felt kind of uncomfortable and like out of place for me, if that makes sense. And maybe you feel the same way. But I will say, I am glad for every time that I forced myself to go to these different networking events, because something good literally came out of every single one of them. And really what networking is about is just like talking to people, meeting people, learning, what they do, what they're about, and then figuring out like, okay, is there any way that I can help you, that you can help me? And that's basically what it is. And especially when you're so young, when you go out networking, most of the time it is that there are other people that are older than you that are actually willing to help you. When I was in college, I went to this event. It was like really fancy, like we had to dress up. I ended up sitting next to the president of my local county chamber of commerce, and he was a really nice older gentleman. And I remember being so nervous. I was like, I don't go to these fancy restaurants like back in college, definitely not. And I was like, I don't even know what spoon to use, all this thing, like, just freaking out in my mind. But I was sitting next to this guy. He was like asking me like, oh, what do you do? And I was like, I'm in college. I'm going to school for business. And he was like, oh, well, what are you planning on doing? Like, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I definitely like want to have an internship. I am interested in marketing, and I just really need to like land an internship. And he was like, oh, okay. He was like, yeah, we have a marketing department at the Chamber of Commerce. Like, here's my card. Let's talk and I'll get you connected to like our marketing director. And I was literally like, what? And guys, like that was not the first time that I had an encounter like that at a networking event. Like, it's crazy just like putting yourself in these situations, because the people that go there, it's like they're there because they want to help. They have these different connections, and people want to connect you with other people that, it's going to be like a mutually beneficial relationship. Like, I was in need of an internship. They needed some cheap help because at the time, you don't get paid much for an internship. But it worked out great. I ended up meeting with the marketing director. I started working there as an intern, and I got some good experience under my belt. I share this because even though it's uncomfortable, even though it can feel a little bit overwhelming and kind of awkward and cringy going to these different events, I promise you, if you put yourself out there, good things will come from it. And get this, 70 to 80% of jobs are actually not publicly advertised. So you're missing out if you don't get your butt out there and go to these different events and start talking to the people that have the connections and know about the opportunities. All the jobs that I've had, and I've had several at this point, have literally come from me knowing someone that either works there or was able to refer me to the company. And that literally, if there's a stack of resumes, if someone within the company says oh yeah, I know this girl who does marketing, actually, she'd be great for this job. Because the company knows the person that was referring you and they trust them, they're okay, yeah, Sally Sue is actually a great person and she does great work. And of course, she would be associated with great people. Let's talk to this girl that she recommends. So automatically your resume goes to the top of the stack, especially as first gen college grads. I didn't know this. I didn't have any connections before then. I didn't have my dad that worked for Coca-Cola and he has all his buddies and all his different VP friends and all this stuff a lot of other people have that have come from generations of people that have gone to college and just all these different things. I didn't have any of that. So I've literally been just hacking it on my own, meeting people, putting myself out there. And if I was able to do it and figure it out, so can you. So I just really want to drive that point home, get out there, go to the different events. The more that you do it, the more comfortable you'll start to get. A tip for when you go to these different events, I know in the beginning it feels I don't really have anything to share, to add value or anything like that. People love to talk about themselves. So if you just ask the right questions and ask them what they do and how long they've been doing it, where are they from, and how did they get started, and all these things, people will just continue to talk and they'll walk away feeling wow, that was a really great conversation. And it was just because you listened to them. And eventually they will come around and ask you about yourself, and then that's an opportunity for you to just kind of do a little shameless plug and be I'm looking for this, or I'm working on that, or blah blah blah, I'm interested in this. And the possibilities are endless. So I highly recommend just talking to people, just building relationships. Once you're in your first job, just talk to as many people as you can. That is something that I've gotten better at over the years. When I first started off in my career, I felt a little bit intimidated about people that were in higher positions, just because I wasn't used to being around them and I didn't know what to expect, and it was just kind of a foreign thing to me. But once you start talking to people, you realize that everyone's just a person. Everyone goes home and they have different things that they struggle with. I like to remind myself everyone poops. If you can adopt the mentality of everyone is on the same playing field, nobody is above you, no one is below you, then you can just have a conversation human to human with anyone and learn something. So to recap, land a job, don't overthink it, just get some experience under your belt. Don't worry, because it's not going to define the rest of your career. You can always pivot if you don't like the job that you first start out in. Number 2, make sure that you never stop expanding your skill set. Just always lean into the things that interest you and learn as much as you can, even after college, consistently throughout life. Things are always changing and evolving, and the people that can change with the changing times are the ones that stay relevant. And I want to make sure that you stay relevant. And also, as cringy and awkward as it may feel in the beginning, please make sure that you network, that you talk to people, that you build good relationships, that you just find a way to get yourself into the rooms where the decisions are made, because you belong there and your perspective is valuable. This is such an exciting time because literally the possibilities are endless. You have your whole career ahead of you, and there's just so much that you're gonna do and accomplish, and so many people that you're gonna meet. It's just gonna be amazing for you, and I'm so excited for you. I am wishing you all the best in this new chapter of your life. It's gonna be great, and I'm rooting for you. So if you found value in today's video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'm looking forward to seeing you here so we can grow on our journeys together.